Okay guys, here's part 2 of the Ruger SP101 trigger job. So last time we left off, I was taking this plunger out and the spring came out. Now what this spring is this is your return spring, your trigger return spring. Now the kit that I bought is the Wolf spring set, and it comes with different size springs. Trigger guard latch spring. So that's what that spring is. So I left this original spring in just because I like the way it felt better than this spring. This spring is a 10-pound spring, and this one was an 8-pound spring. I didn't like the way it reset, I didn't like the way it felt, so I put the 10-pounder back in. So, you saw that we drilled it out with a bit. We cleaned the insides of it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put it back together. So I'm just going to take just a little dab of oil. You just need a very little bit. Just right on your fingers, like that. And you just want to rub it around this. Not too much. Okay. Now, be careful with that, remember. So now you're going to want to put that back in. And then your spring goes in next. Okay. And then you have this. That's the part that I took out in the beginning. Okay. So this can be kind of tricky. So this has to be lined up. So when you're taking it apart, you got to make sure you remember which way it goes in. So you can see how it's got the grooves there. This one doesn't. This side doesn't. So you want this to be up, because when you press this in, you're going to put that pin back and it's going to catch right there, right on that little edge. So we're going to do that real quick. This pin is super tiny, so you also want to be careful not to pull the trigger. I haven't done it yet, but I've seen other people do it on videos. So you just push your pin back in like that. Okay, so that went back in pretty easy. It's not too hard. So that's your trigger spring. Now the next one is your main spring. Now this one comes in different strengths of spring powers. The original factory is 14 pounds, right? So this one's my original factory. This is my 14-pound spring, and you can see the difference. I took the 14-pounder out and I put the 10-pound in, which is this spring right here. It also comes in a 9 and a 12. Now it just depends on what you guys like. You can do different pulls if you like, but I like the way the 10 feels. The 10-pounder feels good to me. So remember when I said make sure you know which way this is lined up, because our next thing we're going to be taking this assembly off. I'm going to show you how to get the spring off. Now this part can be pretty hard. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it on camera. I might be able to. So you just want to take this and you want to push it. Maybe I can get it like this. Push that spring down like this. Okay. And be really careful because this thing will fly. And then this pops off Okay, so you remember which way this goes on. Just like this. Okay, and that's your spring. And it goes like this. Okay, so this is the 10-pound spring. So what you can do with this little bar right here, is you use some really fine sandpaper. Just lightly rub it, and this is just taking off any edges that may be on it, any rough edges. So you just want to do that lightly. Okay. So after you do that, we're going to put the spring back on. Now this can be pretty tricky, so we're going to put it on. We can also put a little bit of oil on this too. Just put a little oil on. So now you got your spring. So you're going to put your spring on. Now we're going to do just the total opposite of what we did. Now you want to remember this has to face a certain way, and it went on this way. If you got it this way, it's incorrect. So you want to have the C pointing towards you. So we're going to take this and we're going to set that over that like that. Oh, I did it first try. How about that? Okay. So I hope you guys saw that. You just have to compress it a little bit. The heavier springs is going to be a lot harder to do. When I first did mine, I had this piece flying everywhere, but I did it pretty good. So that's how you take the spring and the assembly off, and just buff down the sand the edges. Just buff it off. Any hard surfaces that'll help with trigger pull. So once you got your spring assembly back on, then it's pretty much done. Now all there is to do is reassemble it. Now there are some more things you can do to it, and I haven't gone that far. There's a couple springs inside of here. There's a spring inside of here, a little one, and there's some parts you can kind of sand down a little bit, lightly sand to get the buffs, the major marks off. Just to kind of grind it down to make it smoother so it's not snagging on anything. But I'm happy with the way my trigger pull is on my gun, so I'm just going to leave this trigger just like this. I'm not going to mess with the trigger. I'm doing this video just as an instruction video. I'm not a gunsmith. I ain't an expert on it. This is just for entertainment. So it's at your guys' risk if you want to decide to modify your gun. I'm not going to be claiming any responsibility for anything. This is just showing you how I did mine and how it worked for me. So we're going to cut this off now.